Hello there and welcome to this tutorial, and I am going to paint jellyfish. And you can see the reference picture here on the left. I'm not going to copy the reference picture whatsoever. I'm just leaving it there just as an inspiration for us. And I'm using here the Tombow brush pen. And it's the light gray number N75. And the Tombow brush pen has the nice effect that it's soluble with water. And well, what I actually want to try to do is to get in the movement of the jellyfish. What is also very perfect is that even if you are a newbie at art and you're not quite trained or practiced yet, then the jellyfish is a very, very nice animal to start with, because you can shape them any way you like. And the only thing you want to keep in mind is that the jellyfish are moving very graciously through the water, and their shapes are constantly moving around and changing as they float through the water. And you can see my brush pen is just trying to pick up that movement, and I'm just moving it about. The tip of the Tombow is very ideal for this, so that's the reason why I chose this. Now, on my Patreon page, you can see the whole process in real time, so should you want to check that out, you can see this and more than 150 other tutorials in real time on my Patreon page for only $5. So, well, that might be a nice option for you. But in the meantime, I'm just figuring out. I've drawn in some bigger jellyfish, some smaller jellyfish. Some are floating upwards, some are moving downwards. But the main important thing is that you keep them happy and moving around. Now, here's another tip. I am using painter's tape because I want to create a rectangle. And you can see in the reference picture that the background is really, really dark. But I do not want to color in the whole page. I just want that square to be, or the rectangle I mean, to be darkened. And the tape will allow me to move around freely, or rather freely, with the big brush, the flat brush. And I just use Pines Gray, which is a very dark gray from my watercolor paint. And I start tracking the lines that I've drawn in with the Tombow. And I try to put in darkness in the background, but I'm leaving out some spaces for where the light hits the jellyfish. So now you can understand why I did the first setup with that Tombow, with the brush pen, because then I know where to place the dark areas. And this is kind of a wet in wet situation, but the space is confined by the tape. Now, once I'm happy with where I put the dark pigments, I simply take away the tape, and then you can see a very sharp line of the rectangle that I've created. And all I need to do now is continue my drawing. So this is where I go outside the rectangle, and I simply keep on painting with the Pines Gray. And well, it gives me a nice effect. Oh, whoops, that's my cat. She thinks it's a nice effect too, so she was paying us a visit. She can. And well, I'm just going outside the space, and this is a nice thing too. You can paint on wet in wet and just see where the pigments are taking us. Now this is the biggest jellyfish all the way in the top, and you can see that I'll just let him get out of the area outside of the rectangle, and this brings us a very, very nice effect indeed. You can see the roundness of the top of the jellyfish, the head, if you want. And then I try to bring in somewhat more dark areas to create the feel of depth, of the deepness of the ocean, and the roundness of the jellyfish, sparing out a little bit of the whites, of course. And here are the tentacles way down below. And what you can do next is just put in colors. You can pick any color you want. For the top, for instance, I use now the pink and a little bit of yellow. And you can just pick any color you want for this. For the lower jellyfish, I'm using some blue, so you can just choose blue for the lower parts. Blue is also a nice color for the jellyfish that are more down below. So that's also a nice atmospheric color perspective if you want. So that's why I picked more yellow for the top and more bluish for the bottom. And this is my Winston Newton white gouache, and because we used very dark pigments for the background, I can now just take from the tube itself, I just pick up some of the gouache pigments. And of course the watercolor itself, the watercolor paint, is transparent, but the white gouache is opaque. And the combination of the two of those is quite amazing. So I really wanted to demonstrate this, and how nice watercolor can be combined with the opaque gouache, especially when you are using very dark backgrounds and stuff. And in that way, you also do not need to care too much about sparing out the white. but you can also use it to bring in, well, some really nice light effects. And what I also like is that the pigments of the watercolor paint tend to soak into the gouache a little bit, and that gives that nice soft touch. So I really love to combine gouache with watercolor paint. It's just amazing to see how they work together. So, well, this is the effect. It's just a little try out, and but I really love these kinds of studies. So I hope you do too, and give this a try. Maybe I will see you on my Patreon page. You are always welcome. And otherwise in one of my other tutorials. So thank you for watching, and greetings from me, Lineke Lijn.